Hi everyone. I think we're live now. If you can hear me and see me, can you give me a thumbs up? I think we can wait a few minutes to start. If there's anyone watching this, can you give me a thumbs up so I know that you can hear me? And we can start in a few minutes, hopefully. I know it's a bit of a difficult time right after lunch and everyone wants to take their afternoon nap, but it's okay. Okay. Livia says hello, so I think that means you can hear me. Is there anyone else here? I just need a thumbs up. Okay. Lavina also says hello. Okay, that's good. Looks like people can hear me. I'm just gonna wait one more minute and then start. So if we get a few more participants, that would be great. Oh, cool. I got 2 thumbs up. Hi to everybody who's here so far. I don't know how much you know about this live session, but I will be telling you shortly what it's about and who I am and what you can get out of this. Hello to Neetu and Shruti and Viju. Thanks for coming. This is the very first session of What to Read. So you guys are our first ever viewers. Thanks for listening, and hopefully we can, with your feedback, keep doing this and making this a fun and fruitful monthly session. Hi Deepthi. Hi Rashmi. Okay, I think we can start. So everyone can go back to their naps at 2:30. Hi, my sister Shalini is here. Okay, so hi everyone, and welcome to TLC Library's What to Read. This is a session that we just came up with and we're doing for the first time in collaboration with the Facebook group Moms of Mangalore. So thanks a bunch, the MOM ladies, for doing this with us and helping coordinate this live session, which is personally my first, but hopefully it's going to go well. So what to read is basically, the title tells you what it is. I am a writer and coordinator at a children's library in Mangalore, and So what we're going to do in this session is just give you some book recommendations and talk to you in length about some books that we loved and we think that you will love. So that's essentially what to read is. Of course, now I'm catching you at a very difficult time. Mangalore and the rest of Karnataka is in the middle of a 2-week lockdown, and the rest of the country is also in a crisis. And I think being our library is situated within school, so we are part of a community of many young parents, and I have children around me also. So I've seen firsthand what a challenging time this is, especially for children. Being forced to, being confined indoors, especially when most of us live in cramped apartments with hardly any space for kids to run around and make a mess. And they're facing things like quarantine and lockdowns and the possibility of a parent or a grandparent being sick. These are all fears that we personally never had to go through when we were children. So it really is a bit of a traumatic time for them. And I have such deep empathy for not just the children but also parents, especially all of you moms who are trying to navigate this and not have it affect our children too much. We hope that as a library community, we can bring a little bit of light to your lives with the help of books. That's what we do. Before we start, I would like to, for those of you who are listening, if you can just quickly comment with the age of your child. If you can just quickly comment with the age of your child, that will help me tailor the session accordingly and also plan for future sessions. So if you can just comment with the number, that would be great. And yeah. So also I want to say that we have a book giveaway that is happening, and the end of the session, all you have to do to participate is post a comment and tag 2 of your friends who you think will also enjoy such sessions and conversations about books. So you just need to do that in the comments below this live streaming video to participate in the giveaway. And what is up for grabs is this book. It's called 31 First Fantastic Adventures in Science, and it's written by me. So I had an extra copy lying around, and I would love to give it away to one of you. It's a book about science and people who do some really exciting science. So that's the book that's up for grabs. We are already getting some ages in 6, 5, 8, 7. Okay, perfect. So far, I think the book that I'm going to spend some time on today fits all these age groups. But let's see what else comes in over the course of this 30 minutes. So that's 2 things: age and participate in the giveaway. We'll let you know who the winner is in the course of the week and coordinate with you to send the prize across. So let's come back to what to read. I had this very enviable task of choosing what book or books to recommend for this session. For a book lover, I can't imagine a more fun thing to do. And I'm very excited to jump right into the first ever book recommendation of what to read. So this is the book that we're going to be talking about for the next 15 minutes or so. It's called, I hope you're seeing this the right way and not the mirror image, but it's called Fauja Singh Keeps Going. And this book came out sometime less than a year back, so it's still pretty new. And it came out, I believe, in the UK. I'm not sure, but it made quite a bit of news. So the first time I heard about it, I was very interested in getting a copy, but it was not selling in India, and now it is. So I was very quick to get my hands on it, and I'm very excited to. It really met all my expectations, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. So Fauja Singh Keeps Going is a book by Simran Jeet Singh, and the illustrations are by Baljinder Kaur, and it's published by Penguin Random House. The book is it's a true story about a man who is today 110 years old, still alive, and it's a story of his life. His name is Fauja Singh. He's a Sikh, person, and he was born with very weak legs that rendered him unable to walk till he was about 5 years old. He couldn't walk, and eventually he became the oldest person to ever run a complete marathon. So this is the very amazing storyline, and the book is about not very big at all, just maybe about a 10 minutes read. And I'll tell you, more about the reading levels and stuff, which I think many of you will have questions about. So this is the storyline, and like I said, the reason it made a lot of news. This book really was highly critically acclaimed for many reasons, which I will get into during the course of this. And also, I'll be talking about some other reasons that I love the book and why I think you will as well. So the biggest, I think, the most unique and wonderful thing about this book is that it's apparently the first time that a children's book by a major publisher has a Sikh protagonist in it, and not just that, it's written by a Sikh person and also illustrated by a Sikh person. And why I think this is important is because it shows, every page, every sentence in this book is just, there's just so much love in it, and there's so much of empathy, and you feel, there's no doubt in my mind that there was a lot of effort put into the creators to get to know Fauja Singh and what he was like as a child, as a person growing up with facing all these things. And more than that, I felt like the creators themselves possibly related to this and maybe even led these kinds of lives because they come from a common culture. And I think that's a big reason why this book has turned out to be such a great piece of work that it is. So representation wise, it really ticks all the boxes. And I think it's very it's really interesting for kids to hear about new cultures, and there's not a lot of books that tell us about the Sikh culture, and especially I'm presuming most of us are not Sikh because we come from this part of India, but it would be very interesting for kids to find out about this other way of living, which is actually very similar to ours in the important ways, but also there are differences which are really appreciated and really celebrated in this book. And of course, for Sikh children, it's a wonderful way because they rarely get to see people like them in books, and this is an opportunity to do so. Personally, I'm always very amused when I hear kids, when I see kids around me, young kids who suddenly start speaking with an American accent, or with all these slangs, and saying amigo, and like, where did Spanish come from, right? But it's all an influence of what they're watching on television or Netflix or reading in books. So I think it's the role of people like me to help us guide our kids to also different kinds of cultures, so that we can make sure they're not being only exposed to the same kind of world, and also see that there are different types of people and different ways of being, basically. So that is one big plus point here. I'm sure that some of you also must have read some books with your kids, or maybe watched some movies which featured different kinds of cultures. So I'm really interested in knowing about these books or these movies. So if you do remember, if something I said made you remember something else you've read, then please do post that in the comments, and we can share that with the rest of the people. And maybe I could review that book in one of the future episodes. So we have some comments coming in. Thanks to the rest of you who put your ages in. Suggest books for an 8-year-old. Well, it's your lucky day, Tarahat. This is a book that would definitely suit an 8-year-old. And also a question, should we look for good illustrations while looking for a book? Well, I think that as far as possible, if we can let children pick the books that they want to read, that will be great. But if we are doing the picking, illustrations are important, but I would say do it based on your child best. If you think that they are drawn to color and illustrations, then why not? And lucky for us, a lot of picture books have really beautiful illustrations. But it's really futile to think that what we personally feel is beautiful art is what children will feel is beautiful art. So I always feel it's better that we ask them to do the selection by themselves. Deepti says Bhag Milka, the Milka Singh movie. Yeah, that is another, I think, also about a Sikh person. So that's another great example. One more thing I wanted to also really appreciate in this book is how it's one of the few books that has a protagonist as a elderly person, and this is not something we see a lot in children's books. It's usually the stories are about children, and for good reason, because we assume that kids will relate to kids better. But I mean, I today while reading this book, I realized that lately there have been some book. I don't know if some of you may have read the Mutashi books by Pratham and I think Thulika also, based on a grandmother, like a genius grandmother, and kids. All the kids I know love that book. So I think there's something about spunky old people that kids love, and Fauja Singh especially is really great because we get used to seeing old people, as a certain stereotype that they just. I mean, we only see them as grandparents or neighbors or people who just exist to bake us cakes and tell us stories. While these are all awesome, I think it's good to also give each other a reminder that grandparents are individuals too. They have their own personality, they have their own dreams, and with this book we get to meet Fauja Singh, who's this multifaceted character. He likes having friends like you and me. He doesn't like being bored. Sometimes he feels lonely. He has insecurities. He dreams of changing the world, so there really is no limit just because of age. And I thought I would. Somebody suggested. I don't know if this is a book. Dadima Wears a Sari, but I will Google it. And and Nirupama Pillai, who is actually my cousin sister. I'm assuming this is Raghav typing the message. Says that I like books without illustrations, like Harry Potter. See, so that's Tarahat's question. There are kids who also like books without illustrations. So it really depends on child to child. So back to grandparents, I thought that I could just share how I'm lucky to have a grandmother who's 90 plus years old, and she loves to sew quilts and give us kisses and gifts. But there's also something else. She loves ice cream. That's her biggest weakness, and that's one of my favorite parts about her because it makes it really, I mean, it makes me feel like, okay, you're a grandmother, but I'm just like you. I love ice cream. You love ice cream. So I thought that for sure, I think you will also have, some of you will have elder people with unique habits and, fun stories. So if you want to share with the rest, then do post in the comments and we can exchange some stories uh, as we go on ahead in the session. So fun stories of older people are welcome in the comments. Lastly, because this is a group with, I think, a lot of moms in it and a lot of parents in it, I wanted to point out how Fauja Singh, Fauja Singh Keeps Going, has some examples of really great parenting. And I think we all know those who have young children around them, those who are parents of young children, the pressures that accompany, right from when they're a infant to the first few years. There are all these landmarks that we expect kids to hit at age 1, age 2, if they're not walking by this age, if they're not talking by this age. It's a lot of pressure socially and a lot of fears, sometimes exaggerated, that come with it, which ultimately really affect the child. So in this book, you can imagine we have Fauja Singh, who's almost 5 years old and still cannot walk, yet he keeps trying. So there's every morning, maybe Fauja Singh has had a lot of people talk, and that affects him. But every morning, while his mother is combing his long hair, she tells him something. She says, "You know yourself, Fauja, and you know what you're capable of. Today is a chance to do your best." I thought this was really beautiful because it's such a happy thing to say, and it's so it does not reflect the pressure that she probably actually is in, and it clearly made a big impact on Fauja Singh, because later in the book you see that he grows older, and every time he has some sort of a challenge facing him, he tells himself this. Fauja, you know what you're capable of. Today is a chance to do your best. And even better, when he has his own children, he tells them to them. So this is really a lovely demonstration of how positive effects of a healthy and loving parenting is not just good for the child right then, but it really transcends generations. So for those of you who are doing that, I think, I mean, it's it's a really beautiful thing, and thank you for the next generation. So let me see if there are any comments that we can share here. Mm, Suggest a book for a soon-to-be 7-year-old. So this book, Fauja Singh Keeps Going, is so I think the lesson, we can practice the lesson that we learn from this book, which is, let's not expect the same out of every 7-year-old or the same out of every 5-year-old. So even in our library, we generally desist from categorizing books based on ages, because there's far too much variation. You'll find 7-year-old Raghav who is reading Harry Potter books without pictures, and then you'll find 7-year-old kids who love to read picture books. So the variation is so big, and not everybody is as comfortable with English at a certain age. So I would put this at a reading level 3, which could really come across any age, but I can give you a better idea. So you see that the font is a little small, so maybe for, I don't know if you can see. Let me try. Okay, I think this is better. So you see that the font is a bit small. So for for very early readers to read by themselves, it might be a little challenging. But if you're willing to read this aloud for them, then then it's just a matter of reading once, because there are so many pictures, and the pictures are so descriptive and beautiful that for sure children will understand parts of the story from the pictures themselves. That said, the story uses fairly simple words, so there's nothing hugely complicated or extensively literary that will be very challenging for younger kids. So I would say that anything up to 8-9 years old can read this book. And to be honest, it's really, I mean, I feel that the best of children's books can be read across ages, can be read by adults, and there's so much to learn from even books like these, even if we're 33 like I am. uh, so that was Fauja Singh. Let's see if there are, somebody's suggested the Amachi series. Yeah, the Amachi series is, I think, what I was also talking about when I said the Mutashi series. Amachi series are by Pratham, if I'm not mistaken, and kids love them. So you should check that out as well, and maybe also suggest more if you remember them. So that was as planned. I have spent a lot of time talking about this book because it really is worth it, and I feel that if you're in Mangalore, come to our library and borrow the book. Otherwise, you should get a copy by yourself. It's a great book to have in your children's bookshelf. So I also wanted to talk about one more book. So this is for a older audience. It's a young adult book. So young adult books are generally for middle and high school kids. And this book is called Talking of Muskaan. Yeah, hope you can see it. So Talking of Muskaan is a book by Himanjali Sankar, and it is published by Duckbill Books. Before I get into the book, just a reminder that you can win the book that we're giving away. That's this one. If you comment with tagging 2 of your friends. We don't have a lot of contestants yet, so there's a good chance of winning. We'll be randomly selecting the winner. Yeah, so back to Talking of Muskaan. So Talking of Muskaan is a book about a group of friends. I think they're in 10th grade because they're all around 15 years old, and it starts off with a pretty grim theme. It starts off with one of the friends, Muskaan, who uh, everybody finds out has just attempted to take her own life, and she's now in the hospital. So this is so from that very serious theme, the book goes on to exploring the kinds of relationship Muskan has with uh, the people who are close to her and who had the greatest influence on her. And I mean, even though like I said, it's a bit of a grim beginning, the rest of the book is really fun and really, you really get to see what today's kids are talking about, thinking about, and it shows these 15-year-olds as really mature, really complex individuals with complex thoughts. Many movies and many books tend to dumb down teenagers, but this book does not do it at all. And it explores all kinds of dynamics, like how Muskan drifts away from her group of friends who she was close to for many years, because all of the girls somehow start, they're in their adolescence and they all start having the same sort of hobbies and interests. And Muskan finds that she can no longer live up to their expectations of her. Muskan is very different. She likes different things which are not generally considered girly, and she feels a bit isolated because she's being pressured to be something that she's not, and that sort of puts her in a depression. And also, but it also gives her, the opportunity to make some friends with people that she never would have made friends with before, because she drifts away with this set of friends. She actually makes friends with another boy who comes from a social background uh, which she otherwise would not have mixed with, but this also blossoms into a very beautiful friendship. So I think that I personally think that this is a very nice book to read, even though you don't normally see such books tackled in such themes tackled in children's books, because we are living in a world where we want, with such a hyper competitive world for kids once they are 12, 13, once they're getting close to 10th standard exams and entrance exams, and there's so many kinds of pressures, and we hear so many kinds of stories about teenagers who are suffering from poor mental health, and these are all because of these pressures. They feel that they're alone. So I feel that we really do need such not sensitive and fun books that can show kids that it's normal to be feeling in these ways. And they're getting all of this information anyway. We're watching movies, with the internet. There's no control about what our children are seeing. So what the best we can do is point them to the right places, and make and try and make them feel that they're not alone. So Talking of Muskan, like I said, I think it would be good for kids 12 and above, though I also would seriously recommend it to parents of kids um, of this age, and any parents really, because it really gives us this rare look into what's going on in the brains of kids these days. And I don't know a lot about the author, but it really does feel like it feels pretty real, even though it's set in a time where there are cell phones and Facebook, which was not there when I was young. There was a lot to relate to in this book. So Talking of Muskan is the second book that I'm recommending this time. Let's just go to some comments now. We have lots of hearts, which I love to see. Someone says Tinkle series, which is great. Who doesn't love Tinkle? I'm not sure if Ramya was answering to something, but Tinkle series is great anyway. we have we have quite a few contestants for our giveaway. That's great. And yeah, when Jayashree agrees with me that this is the need of the hour, teenagers need people to understand their emotions. I'm glad you agree, Jayashree. I'm not a mother of a teenager, so I cannot pretend to know it all. But I mean, there are a lot of students around me, and I really see how much we need this. Um, Especially when schools are closed. That's absolutely correct, because now they don't even have physical contact with their friends, who are usually who we turn to when we are at that age. So yeah, we've pretty much run out of time, and I thought, since we have a few minutes left, I will end this session with reading, and I've chosen something funny, since the last book was a bit serious. So I'm gonna read you actually a poem from this book. It's by Jerry Pinto, who is a pretty well-known author for a general audience, but he's also dipped his toes into children's books. And this is a book of poetry. So you don't often see a lot of books for poetry for children, but this is a great one, even if kids typically don't like poetry, because it's just terribly funny and rhymey. So I'm gonna pick one and read that to you. Okay, this one has a title that's pretty funny in itself. It's called "What Happens to the Kids Who Won't Sit Down When the Parade Begins and Thus Block the View of Someone in Front of Them." I'm not kidding, that's the title. This is the poem. In every small town parade, and every is true, I'm afraid, there is a little man or maid who thinks they're glass factory made. They'll stand up when the road is bare. They'll stand up and look at empty air. They'll stand up though they have a chair. They'll stand up as if only they were there. This year I went to see a show, not very distant from Jaipur. I thought I had a first row seat. Since I'm short, that is a treat. But when the band began to play, with not a second of delay, the little boy began to bray and wandered right into my way. I held my tongue, I kept my peace. I wished to shoot him in the knees. I didn't, for no good comes to these who do such things because they're thieves. And I was right. When we had sung the anthem and the bells were rung, an elephant unloosed his bum and covered up the boy with dung. So, little kids, now here's the law. Beseat yourselves, feet on the floor, or you might ask for something raw, right from an elephant's back door. So that's the poem. If you are interested in the book, it's called "Tickle Me, Don't Tickle Me," and other poems for magnificent, turbo-loaded, triple-charged children. I know some of these, and I'm sure you do. It's by Jerry Pinto, and it's published by Talking Cub. So you can check that book out as well. So that's the three books that I chose to talk about this time, and I hopefully get to do this again. And thank you so much, all of you, for attending. And we will be in touch with who is winning the competition. Thanks a lot to everybody. Bye bye, and have a good weekend.